Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Any material that fills a space or container. The yarn woven across the warp yarn in weaving. A food mixture used to fill pastry or sandwiches, etc. Dentistry. A dental appliance consisting of any of various substances, as metal or plastic, inserted into a prepared cavity in a tooth. When he yawned, I could see the gold fillings in his teeth. Flow into something, as a container. The act of filling something. Make full, also in a metaphorical sense. Fill a container. Any material that fills a space or container. There was not enough fill for the trench. Occupy the whole of. The liquid fills the container. Become full. The pool slowly filled with water. Fill, satisfy or meet a want or need or conscience or restriction. Assume, as of positions or roles. Eat until one is sated. He filled up on turkey. Fill to satisfaction. Appoint someone to a position or a job. A quantity sufficient to satisfy. He ate his fill of potatoes. Plug with a substance. Fill a cavity. The quantity of a crop that is harvested. He sent the first picking of berries to the market. The person or thing chosen or selected. He was my pick for mayor. A heavy iron tool with a wooden handle and a curved head that is pointed on both ends. They used picks and sledges to break the rocks. Pull lightly but sharply with a plucking motion. Pay for something. Pick up the tab. Look for and gather. Pick mushrooms. The act of choosing or selecting. You can take your pick. The best people or things in a group. Harass with constant criticism. Don't always pick on your little brother. Eat intermittently. Take small bites of. Remove unwanted substances from, such as feathers or pits. A small thin device, of metal or plastic or ivory, used to pluck a stringed instrument. The yarn woven across the warp yarn in weaving. Attack with or as if with a pickaxe of ice or rocky ground, for example. Hit lightly with a picking motion. A basketball maneuver. Obstructing an opponent with one's body. He was called for setting an illegal pick. A thin sharp implement used for removing unwanted material. He used a pick to clean the dirt out of the cracks. Pilfer or rob. Pickpockets. Provoke. Pick a fight or a quarrel. Remove in small bits. Pick meat from a bone. Select carefully from a group. She finally picked her successor. The yarn woven across the warp yarn in weaving. The yarn woven across the warp yarn in weaving. Informal terms for personal possessions. Overeat or eat immodestly. Make a pig of oneself. She stuffed herself at the dinner. Fill with a stuffing while cooking. Have you stuffed the turkey yet? Senseless talk. Don't give me that stuff. Obstruct. My nose is all stuffed. The tangible substance that goes into the makeup of a physical object. Wheat is the stuff they use to make bread. Press or force. A critically important or characteristic component. Suspense is the very stuff of narrative. Cram into a cavity. The child stuffed candy into his pockets. Fill tightly with a material. Stuff a pillow with feathers. Information in some unspecified form. It was stuff I had heard before. Miscellaneous unspecified objects. The trunk was full of stuff. Treat with grease, fill, and prepare for mounting. Stuff a bearskin. Unspecified qualities required to do or be something. The stuff of heroes. Artifact made by weaving or felting or knitting or crocheting natural or synthetic fibers. She measured off enough material for a dress. Having substance or capable of being treated as fact, not imaginary. Having material or physical form or substance. The tangible substance that goes into the makeup of a physical object. Coal is a hard black material. A person judged suitable for admission or employment. He was university material. Concerned with or affecting physical as distinct from intellectual or psychological well-being. Material needs. Concerned with worldly rather than spiritual interests. Material possessions. Derived from or composed of matter. The material universe. Directly relevant to a matter, especially a law case. His support made a material difference. Information, data or ideas or observations, that can be used or reworked into a finished form. The archives provided rich material for a definitive biography. Things needed for doing or making something. Writing materials. A fine cord of twisted fibers, of cotton or silk or wool or nylon, etc. Used in sewing and weaving. The act of giving an account describing incidents or a course of events. Tell or spin a yarn. Thread on or as if on a string. Thread dried cranberries. The connections that link the various parts of an event or argument together. He lost the thread of his argument. A fine cord of twisted fibers, of cotton or silk or wool or nylon, etc. Used in sewing and weaving. Any long object resembling a thin line. From the air the road was a gray thread. The raised helical rib going around a screw. To move or cause to move in a sinuous, spiral, or circular course. Pass a thread through. Thread a needle. Pass through or into. Thread tape. Remove facial hair by tying a fine string around it and pulling at the string. She had her eyebrows threaded. An additional ingredient that is added by mixing with the base. A large intermixture of sand. The act of mixing together. Any foodstuff made by combining different ingredients. A collection containing a variety of sorts of things. The act of mixing together. An event that combines things in a mixture. A gradual mixture of cultures. Any foodstuff made by combining different ingredients. He drank a mixture of beer and lemonade. Chemistry. A substance consisting of two or more substances mixed together, not in fixed proportions and not with chemical bonding. The act of creating something, a medicine or drink or soup, etc., by compounding or mixing a variety of components. Any foodstuff made by combining different ingredients. He volunteered to taste her latest concoction. An occurrence of an unusual mixture. It suddenly spewed out a thick green concoction. The invention of a scheme or story to suit some purpose. His testimony was a concoction. A device to repair teeth or replace missing teeth. Something that resembles a flowing stream in moving continuously. The museum had planned carefully for the flow of visitors. Fall or flow in a certain way. Her long black hair flowed down her back. The monthly discharge of blood from the uterus of non-pregnant women from puberty to menopause. The semen begins to appear in males and to be emitted at the same time of life that the catamenia begin to flow in females. Move or progress freely as if in a stream. The crowd flowed out of the stadium. The amount of fluid that flows in a given time. Dominant course, suggestive of running water, of successive events or ideas. The flow of thought. The motion characteristic of fluids, liquids or gases. Undergo menstruation. The act of flowing or streaming, continuous progression. Move along, of liquids. Water flowed into the cave. Any uninterrupted stream or discharge. Be abundantly present. The champagne flowed at the wedding. Cause to flow. The artist flowed the washes on the paper. Cover or swamp with water. The act of changing the unity or wholeness of something. A specialized bony substance covering the root of a tooth. A building material that is a powder made of a mixture of calcined limestone and clay, used with water and sand or gravel to make concrete and mortar. Any of various materials used by dentists to fill cavities in teeth. Bind or join with or as if with cement. Concrete pavement is sometimes referred to as cement. They stood on the gray cement beside the pool. Cover or coat with cement. Make fast as if with cement. We cemented our friendship. Something that hardens to act as adhesive material. A sweet filling made of prunes or apricots. A decoration made by fitting pieces of wood into prepared slots in a surface. Decorate the surface of by inserting wood, stone, and metal. Dentistry. A filling consisting of a solid substance, as gold or porcelain, fitted to a cavity in a tooth and cemented into place. A person who follows next in order. An event in which one thing is substituted for another. The replacement of lost blood by a transfusion of donor blood. Filling again by supplying what has been used up. The act of furnishing an equivalent person or thing in the place of another. Someone who takes the place of another person. A person or thing that takes or can take the place of another. Filling again by supplying what has been used up. Filling again by supplying what has been used up. The conversion of wasteland into land suitable for use of habitation or cultivation. The act of renewing. filling again by supplying what has been used up. An overwhelming number or amount. A flood of requests. A large flow. Light that is a source of artificial illumination having a broad beam, used in photography. Fill quickly beyond capacity, as with a liquid. The images flooded his mind. The rising of a body of water and its overflowing onto normally dry land. The act of flooding, filling to overflowing. Supply with an excess of. Flood the market with tennis shoes. The occurrence of incoming water, between a low tide and the following high tide. A tide in the affairs of men which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. Become filled to overflowing. Our basement flooded during the heavy rains. Cover with liquid, usually water. The swollen river flooded the village. The act of flooding, filling to overflowing. A body of water that has been created by deliberately flooding an area. Many campsites were located near the flowage. Gradual internal motion or deformation of a solid body, as by heat. Rock fracture and rock flowage are different types of geological deformation. Chromatic purity. Freedom from dilution with white and hence vivid in hue. The process of totally saturating something with a substance. The saturation of cotton with ether. A condition in which a quantity no longer responds to some external influence. The act of soaking thoroughly with a liquid. Interlace by or as if by weaving. Create a piece of cloth by interlacing strands of fabric, such as wool or cotton. Sway from side to side. To move or cause to move in a sinuous, spiral, or circular course. Pattern of weaving or structure of a fabric. Artifact made by weaving or felting or knitting or crocheting natural or synthetic fibers. Of or relating to fabrics or fabric making. Textile research. Artifact made by weaving or felting or knitting or crocheting natural or synthetic fibers. The fabric in the curtains was light and semi-transparent. The underlying structure. It is part of the fabric of society. Artifact made by weaving or felting or knitting or crocheting natural or synthetic fibers. Woven cloth originated in Mesopotamia around 5000 BC. The branch of medicine dealing with the anatomy and development and diseases of the teeth. The branch of medicine dealing with the anatomy and development and diseases of the teeth.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.